Hello and welcome to another Game Nexus arcade video. Today we're going to be taking a look at, if you can see on your screen here, this is Loaded Software's FTL0 version A, which is Fighting Layer, and this is running on the Namco System 12 arcade hardware. This was released in Japan only in December of 1998. This game, from what I understand, was supposed to get a console version, but it just never did. Now, there's not much we can really do in here. This is just the setting that it was honestly on when I started, and I can honestly tell you, even though it's on difficulty level 2, 3 of course being the default for some reason, it's still really hard. And that's why it took me so long to actually make this video, in order to show you what this game is like. But that's all there really is in the menu here. Nothing too amazing. So let me go ahead and just show you what we got going on the tote here. Just our hardware. If you see here, we have the Namco System 12 board here that has the fighting layer in it. Over here is the JVS power supply for Naomi, and this is the video converter board that's going from the VGA into here, and then it's going into the video converter that's sitting on the floor over there into the TV so it can be displayed. Now if I were capturing, that would also be going into the Elgato Game Capture HD and then into the computer's USB, but since I'm not capturing now, that's not hooked up. Also, we have the PC power supply, the arcade power supply hooked up to the JVS to JAMA I/O board that's going into the I/O socket there. Neither of the two pin connectors are connected, which is not needed for this game, although you could alternatively connect JAMA pin connector here and auxiliary pin connector here for your extra buttons, but I just connected everything to the Sega Naomi's JVS to JAMA I/O just to make stuff a little bit easier. But for that, of course, we're using the good old-fashioned Neo Geo CD controller. Unfortunately, the only caveat here is since it only has 6 buttons, I have to actually just ground out the start button. I don't know if you can see it, it's actually just kind of sitting over here, and I just touch it to the grounds of the JAMA harness in order to actually initiate a start so I can have all 6 buttons working, because this uses a Street Fighter style the 3 punches and 3 kicks type deal, and then of course our little clicky joystick that for some reason SNK has trouble making. But I'm not going to blab on any more about this. Let's get into the gameplay and take a look at Fighting Layer. Okay, and as you can see here, when it starts up, you see the warning only used in Japan, made by Namco, and then at this point the intro would start playing. But of course, I put that in its own video, which I uploaded a few weeks ago, as I had mentioned before, since it took me so long to actually beat this game. So at this point, I think you're actually looking at like 4 weeks since that was uploaded. And here are all the fighters in this game. There's various characters. Some of them are actually repeats from Street Fighter EX. And as you can see, there was the 3 boss characters, only one of which you'll actually see in this gameplay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upload the other 2 boss characters and the other 2 animal enemies in another video. But the general way that this game works is you have your light punch, medium punch, and your fierce punch, and the same thing with your kicks. And various combinations of them will do various different types of attacks, similar to your Street Fighter or Street Fighter EX. And if you hold like forward and your medium punch or your medium kick, your character will do the throw move, which for Lan here, it is the regular throw when you use the punch, or the one where she like grabs them and then starts kicking them if you use the kick. And now there are various like different types of special moves, like you'll hear the announcer guy like yell counter attack, hard attack, hard reversal, and those are just like various moves that you can do. And he'll go like wonderful or splendid or excellent when you do like a really cool like special move. And that was the like special move of the enemy here. And unfortunately, this game never made it outside of Japan. And it also never made it onto any home game consoles. And as you would know from Tekken 3, which was on Namco System 12 as well, or Tekken Tag, and even another game that was released on this hardware, Air Gates, they all made it onto consoles, but sadly this game never made it onto PlayStation or Dreamcast or even PlayStation 2, which is really sad. And this game was released in the time when a lot of fighting games were coming out, so in my opinion there really was no reason not to bring this to home consoles. And what you see here, of course, as you saw in the little intro I did there, is this is actually running on the original board. No emulation here. And the one thing I will say that I have seen myself is that it seems like, at least at the time of recording this, which is in December of 2019, you might be watching this like 10 years after now, but MAME kind of runs Namco System 12, depending on the game, a little bit too fast or a little bit too slow. Like, for instances I always use is Soul Calibur runs a little bit too fast for some reason, and if I recall correctly, Tekken Tag Tournament ran a little bit too slow. I really haven't, like, messed with any of the other games, although for all I know, since I really don't play these games on the emulator too often, since I have the real boards now, it may run them perfectly at this point, and I may be eating my words, but it just seems like these games they just don't have the timing down right. But basically, this kind of uses like a Street Fighter / Street Fighter EX Super Gauge, where you build up the segments, and each of those segments can be used for special moves, hard reversals. And now this match is very important in this game. If you win against the Knight, you get to choose your animal enemy later. If you lose, you automatically go against the shark no matter what. And now the actual strategy here is you have to do your like special moves against him, and once you're done doing a special move, you have a throw that takes a lot of health away. See, right there. And I did my throw, and that beat him. So now, since I've actually won against the Knight, when it comes to the match before the sub-boss, I actually get to choose who I want to fight. Whereas if you didn't, you'd have to fight the shark no matter what. And actually, that night is one of the only matches that you don't have to win. You could just put your controller down or let go of your arcade cabinet, depending on how you're playing this, and not beat the Knight, and you can still keep going. You don't have to put another quarter in or continue or anything. But like some of the moves that Lan has here is she has her one combination, which is kind of done 2 dragon punches and a punch move, and that does that like kind of crazy combo that you see me do, and then the commentator guy goes superb or excellent or something, depending on how many blows I strung together at once. And then she has one which is like dragon punch backwards twice and a kick, and it kind of does that heart attack move where she kind of like turns around and hits him with her back, but it does it a lot of times. But honestly, no matter how many times I've actually done that move, I've never hit the enemy too much with it to actually make it an effective move to really beat the enemy with. Now your mileage may vary on that, but I've just not had much luck with that move. Now here's your like shinobi type Ninja Gaiden ninja guy, which it seems like a lot of fighting games, like Virtua Fighter has Kage, and of course Dead or Alive has Ryu Hayabusa. A lot of them have their like Strider type ninja guy here, and most of them will like throw their ninja stars or do like a crazy move where he just like kind of warps And now that I'm thinking about it, like Ryu Hayabusa does a lot of that stuff too. And you gotta be careful with this guy sometimes, because he will do a lot of the moves too. And if you heard that, the announcer there, he yelled hard reversal, because there's a specific move that you can do that will count as a hard reversal. Like, for instance, I'll give for instance, the plan here. If I'm on the ground, and I press a punch and a kick together, like any of them, it has to be like a set, like it has to be the mediums, or it has to be the fierce. It'll take one of the little segments on the bar away, and she'll do the, I don't know if I do it in this gameplay, but if you see me do like a rising kick thing, that's what the hard reversal actually is, and that will end up taking away one segment, and the guy will yell hard reversal. And that was actually weird. I don't remember him walking into himself like that before when I was playing this game a little while ago. But the only thing that bothers me with Lan here, you'll be trying to do that hard attack where she'll hit the guy with her back, which is as you saw, I actually did it right there. But it's the same button combination. You actually press or hold the punch and the kick set, either medium, fierce, or light, and that'll do that move. And you hold it in order to like power it up a little bit. But if the enemy knocks me down, and then I press those, I'll end up using one of the segments of my special bar for that hard reversal. And now here's the part where if you beat the knight, you got to choose which one you would fight. And I chose the tiger in this gameplay. There is also the shark, which is the one that you have to face if you lose against the knight, and the bird. And as I said, the tiger and the bird are only choices if you beat the knight. And now I won't kid you here. I lost, I think, 2 or 3 times against the tiger this gameplay. And, which wasn't too bad. I can remember when I first faced the tiger, I probably lost like 5 or 10 times. I'm not kidding. Because the problem is, if you try to face this enemy and fight him like any other character, he has a lot of biting and a lot of lunging moves, which really hurt you a lot. And he can string those together rather easily. So you gotta be really careful. You honestly gotta be really careful for any of the animal enemies. But what I will do is, in another video, I will show the shark and the sub-boss, and the bird and the sub-boss, because each of the animal enemies, when you defeat them, is a different sub-boss. So when you defeat the, tiger, you get Ajax. I know when you defeat the shark, you get Clarence, who's like this wrestler guy. And then when you defeat the bird, you get this boxer guy, whose name escapes me. I think it's like Bobby or something. But if I had to say which enemy was the hardest of the 3, I'd have to say Ajax, especially when he gets started with all his moves with that like string thing that he has. He can really be difficult, because if you get too far away from him at any given time, he will start throwing that string on the ground and keep stringing you all the time. And, yeah, he gets really annoying, so you gotta really stay close to Ajax when you face him. And then he's not really too bad. But I can remember when I did first face him, and when I first faced Clarence, it took a few times to beat the sub-boss. But now here is the ending boss, who is, Vold. He has, like, a really long last name that I believe begins with an I. And there also is, like, another character that you can face after Vold. I think it's, like, if you don't use a single continue, but it's only just another version of the knight. And if you look online, I'm sure you can find somebody who has video of that, like, extra knight. I can remember when I first played this, when I first got it way back, a few months ago, I could not defeat Vold even in the first round here. because of that move he does where he keeps going across the screen. It's really, really annoying because unless you do what I learned to do, you just gotta kind of stay put and hold back and hope that if he does hit you, you block it. But I kept on getting hit with that, and that takes out a lot of health. And then, of course, like any boss, in this next round, he pulls out all the stops, and he goes crazy. And he does this thing where if you hit him, he actually will switch places and hurt you more. And then that move he does where he, like, just lunges at the ground. You just gotta jump out of his way and just not get hit by it, and that's the only way to defend against that, because you really can't block that, as you can see that I did right there. I just kind of get out of his way. But he definitely has to be one of the harder bosses I've faced. I could even go on record and say even harder than Devil in Tekken 2, and that was a hard boss battle that I easily, like, took an hour at a time to beat him. Literally sitting, getting beaten by him for a whole hour. This guy is worse, in my opinion. And keep in mind, the difficulty's not all the way up in this game. I even had a time where I took the difficulty down to 1, and this guy was still hard. So, he's just one of those bosses that no matter what you do, he's gonna be really hard. And I do have to admit it, I only lost, I think, twice against him before I actually did the gameplay that you're seeing right now, where somehow, I still don't know how, even watching it, I somehow won. And, therefore I'm presenting this video to you today, so you can actually see this fully played on the real arcade board. You win! And as I said, if you actually beat the game with no losses, you would get, wonderful. You would get like another version of the night, and that's it. And the funny thing is, when I first had played this, I was seeing that part and I was thinking, oh no, don't tell me there's another, like, fight against Bolt now, because he was hard enough when I fought him, and, yeah. It would have been terrible if I just had to, face him again. And I think what I will do is also in the, next video where I show you the 2 characters, I might just show these credits, like, without my commentary, just for someone who may have never seen this. But, yeah, Fighting Layer is a really fun fighting game. It takes a little bit from Street Fighter EX, and the new game Fighting EX Layer that they made doesn't feel exactly like the original. They tweaked it a bit, but I highly recommend you try this game out. It's a really fun fighting game. I'd imagine it'd be even more fun with friends instead of the really cheap AI, but this game is one of those I'd recommend, especially for people who are into arcade stuff and even arcade emulation if you have to go that route. It's a very fun game to play, and it's just a good fighting game developed by Arika that not too many people have seen who, like, aren't into arcade emulation or have visited an arcade that just happen to have this Japanese-only arcade board. Well, this has been another Game Nexus arcade video, and I shall see you later. Oh, there he is. His name is Joe, the other sub-boss. Well, bye.